7:44. Welcome back, everybody. He's written a book called If You Only Knew. And Tom Martin knows what he's talking about. He's one of the country's top private investigators, and in this book, he shares some of his tips on how to do things like babysitter background checks, finding lost loved ones, even find out if your spouse is being unfaithful. Tom Martin, private investigator, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Sam.
We're going to cover kind of a gamut of different things, but let's start with these babysitter background checks. We've been hearing these horror stories about nannies, babysitters that go berserk on the children. How do we find out? Is it a simple procedure? Is this going to take a lot of time and effort and money?
Well, I don't think it'll take a lot of effort and not a lot of money. I think that the public has to get more aggressive when they're choosing a nanny. We recommend a number of things in the book, but some of the things I can share this morning with your viewers, there's 4 basic things that we say that if you're going to bring somebody into your home that you should do. The first is simply do a civil check. Have they been sued, or are they in the process of suing somebody? Have they a criminal record? This would be at the Superior Court level, felonies and above. Are these people have a driving record that you would not want to have your child possibly in a car with them? And finally, the 4th thing is a derogatory check, which gives you a little picture of their finances, bankruptcies, notice of defaults, judgments, tax liens. All of this can be done by a competent private investigator for less than $100.
Okay, and if you were to do that yourself, all of this, is that available to the public from the courthouse?
Most of the times you can go down to the courthouses and access 3 of the 4. You can't access DMV. You have to do that through somebody that's licensed. But I think if you contact a local private investigator, he can save you a lot of time. If you go down to the courthouse, you're going to spend a couple hours researching it, where most guys have online computers and can get you the information in a heartbeat. I
guess the other thing, the biggie with people these days is checking the backgrounds of those people whom you may be dating right now, and you're thinking about getting serious, you're thinking about getting married, but there's just something there that you're not quite right about, and you want to do a background check without them knowing. How would you start doing? How would a private investigator go about doing something like that?
Well, I think they do all the 4 checks that we just talked about. But one of the things that's most amazing to me is 50% of the people in this country are divorced and remarry. And 90% of those people will remarry somebody without looking at their new partner's divorce records or their divorce file. Divorce files are open in this country. So if you were to get married a second time, I think it would behoove you to go down and take a look at that. Is there any wife beating? Is there any child molestation? Is there a drug problem? Those things will all be in the file.
I don't think people are aware of that.
Most people are not. And you can simply go down to any Superior Court records. They will provide that to you. You just walk in there, and most of the people that work in those buildings are more than happy to help you. Or look in your yellow pages and find a competent private investigator, somebody maybe that's been a police officer or a former federal agent. In our office up in Anaheim, where our corporate office is, we can just do that right on the computer.
One thing that people don't talk too much about is, okay, say you have your one of your loved ones checked out, or somebody you're planning to marry, or you're just dating. You find out something horrible about that person. How do people become emotionally prepared to find out this news? Whether it be good or bad, you need to be ready to hear it, correct?
Well, you do, and I think that's what separates a lot of the top private investigators from just the run-of-the-mill. You really have to be very sensitive to bringing the bad news. About 97% of the clients that hire us to do marital surveillance is we actually catch their mate. About 70% of our clients are women, 30% are men. It's an interesting phenomenon that I've found over the last 30 years, that if a man catches his wife cheating, about 99% of the time the marriage is over. The men just cannot handle it. If the women hire us and we catch their husbands, about 50 to 60% of the time they will consider counseling. They will consider trying to save the marriage and keeping the family unit together.
I'm going to ask you something else real quick that concerns everybody, especially when you're moving into a new town, you've bought a house in a new neighborhood, or you're thinking about that neighborhood. But you want to find out who your neighbors are, and in this day and age, it's important to find out who's living next door to you. Is that an invasion of privacy for you to do backgrounds on your neighbors?
I don't think you really need to do a background on your neighbors. What we suggest in the chapter on security is that you simply go and knock on the door. We tell people, listen, you don't need to go break bread with these people. You don't need to have picnics with them. You don't need to talk to them constantly. But just find out their names. If they don't want to engage you after that, fine. But it's very helpful. I know even in my own house that when we leave or I'm on a trip, It's nice to be able to walk over to one of the neighbors and say, can you pick up my mail? Can you just watch the house for me? Can you take in the garbage cans and stuff? So, yeah, we encourage people to go out and talk to their neighbors. It's a real good security tip.
We just scratched the surface this morning, but you can get the whole rundown. There are all kinds of things in the book, avoiding scams, everything. It's called If You Only Knew by Thomas G. Martin. It's in paperback right now at your bookstore, and pick it up if you want to do some sleuthing. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate it.